practice what we learn, we are being lacking onto wise people who build their house on the rock, whereby when the storm comes, it will not wipe it away. So I hope all of us want to be wise, and all of us don't want to be deceivers of ourselves, and also we should give heed to our master, because he also said if we call him Lord, Lord, and we don't do the things that he wants us to do, then what the essence of calling him Lord. So application is very, very important in regards to this ground. So I encourage everybody, each one of us to, give endless heed to this study that we are going through. It's unfortunate because this should be in the church building for us to have a full participation, but unfortunately this thing pandemic has come to cripple us, and we also continue to thank God for even giving us this media that we can come together still to have these studies. Last week we went through beautiful discussions on ourselves. We're looking onto our vision, because we are on vision. The studies is on vision. Now we saw that individuals may have our visions, which is very good. The Bible, the study says a man without a vision is a person without a future. So vision is very, very important, and this goes to the youth. Mostly go to the youth. If you are listening to me, as you are growing, you should have a vision. You should have a vision, because if you don't have a vision, you don't have a future. And if you have a vision, that will push you, that will energize you, that will encourage you to pursue that vision. Most people will know what is going around this country. We know life of most of the youth here, going around killing each other and doing all stuff of things which is not right. So our youth, as you are growing the Lord, it's good for you to have a vision for the future, not only for the youth, for all of us. But last week, again, our lesson encouraging us to have visions, our individual visions, like we want to build a house, we want to be a doctor, we want to be a nurse, we want to have academic achievement and all that stuff, which is all good. The lesson says our vision also must be related or measured. We should always measure these visions and aspirations with God's purpose for us on earth. Because most of us, we pursue these visions, or we allow these visions or these aspirations to overtake our earthly purpose, why God brought us to earth. So the Bible says we should commit our ways and our thought unto the Lord, and He will be the one to establish our heart desire. He said, God said He has got better plans for us. Jeremiah 29:11 is a very powerful passage. He said, man will have a lot of imagination, but it's God who have better plans for us. Again, we should allow God to direct all our future plans. So as we are growing, and we should have visions, and while having these visions, all our vision, all our aspiration also must be related to our spiritual life. We should allow God to direct our steps. Again, we said we should seek ye first the kingdom of God. In all things, we should seek the kingdom of God. Sometimes our visions and our aspirations comes out of over ambitions and our desire to be equal with people. And when we tune our minds, when we have those aspirations, it's the eventual drive us from God or from the Word of God. So we must always seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything that our heart desires will be granted to God. Again, after that, we came to that is our earthly vision. Now, what is your vision as a Christian, or what is our Christian vision, or what should be our Christian vision? Last week we said that as compared to our earthly vision, which may be assigned to a time framework, within the next 5 years I want to do this, within the next 10 years I want to do this, within the next 10 years, our Christian vision should be different. Our Christian vision should be different, because our earthly vision has got the time framework. Like when I grow, before I achieve the age of 25, I need to finish my uni, have my degree, have my career, whatever. But the Christian vision should be different. So all these things were what we went through last week. He said our Christian vision must seek to fulfill God's purpose for us on earth. The Christian vision, must seek to fulfill God's purpose for each and individual on earth. The reason why God brought us on this earth. Last week we quoted we said God had an eternal purpose for us on earth, of which we quoted Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13, which he says the conclusion of the whole matter is to fear God and keep his commandment. So that is the sole purpose of God bringing each and individual onto this earth. So our Christian vision must always seek to fulfill this eternal vision, purpose that God has got for us. He said we should love God and keep his commandments. So our Christian vision is always seek to fulfill loving God and keeping his commandment. We also said that we must seek to please God in all our ways. We quoted 1 Corinthians chapter 10, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. He said, whether we eat or drink, in everything that we do, we should seek to please God. It is a very powerful message, very powerful sermon that we said last week. We should always that. So our Christian vision is always seek to please God. We are here only to fulfill God's purpose. He said also we must also present ourselves as a living sacrifice. Our Christian vision, or to pursue our Christian vision, we must always do our possible best to live as a living sacrifice unto the Lord, of which we also use Romans chapter 12, verse 1 to 2. Then, after that, we continue by saying Christians must set our hearts on things on high. In whatever we are doing, we must always set our things on high. Because mostly we say we are Christians, but we allow our earthly goals, our earthly aspirations overshadow our spiritual one. But here the lesson said we must always seek the things on high. We quoted Colossians chapter 3, verse 1 to 3. It said, if now we have risen with Christ, then we should set our affections on things on high, not focusing on the earthly things. Now let's see what has happened on this pandemic. Where is our cars? Where is our wealth? Everybody is confined to that Foursquare, our houses. You can't go out. Everybody is now scared to go out. You have to wear a mask. You have to wash your hand, whatever. So all these things shows that we Christians should have our heavenly goal to be our vision. He said we must always also seek to lay treasures in heaven. Matthew chapter 6, verse 19 to 21. We should seek the eternal purpose. John 14, verse 1 to 3. Christ said, I am going to prepare a place for you, and I will come back and take you onto, so that where I am, you also will be there. This should be our the utmost Christian vision, that we are going to seek the eternal purpose, the eternal promise that Christ has given to us, that he is going to prepare a place for us and he will come and take us unto himself. Again, we said we should press on towards the goal for the price of the upward call. Philippians chapter 3, verse 14, Paul said he always press on towards this goal. Then finally, we said the ultimate goal of the Christian should be the heavenly abode. Philippians chapter 3, verse 20 to 21. So last week, that's what we discussed. We discussed about our earthly vision and also our spiritual vision, the Christian vision, of which heavenly goal should be an each. Most of us, we come to the Lord and sometimes we backslide or we fall away because we come to the Lord with different aspirations or different goal or different mission. Somebody will say, okay, I want to come to the Lord so that maybe I'll have a very good husband, or I want to come to the Lord so that I will have a good wife, or I want to come to the Lord because my friend or my brother says I should come, or I want to come to the Lord because everybody on Sunday, everybody goes to church, they don't stay home. We have different ideas, but here the lesson says our ultimate vision as a Christian should seek to fulfill God's purpose for us on earth. The reason why God brought us to this earth is to fear Him and obey His commandment and make heaven our abode, because we are all strangers. As we quoted Philippians chapter 3, he said, looking unto Jesus, where He is coming from heaven to take us unto Himself, John 14:2-3. So this is all what transpired last week, of which we all have a very beautiful discussion. And since we're applying, I hope we're going to apply both on our physical vision and on our spiritual vision, as well as our Christian vision. It's very, very important, because whilst we are studying Nehemiah, when we look at Nehemiah, when we look at the vision of Nehemiah, like we could see that the earthly vision was not his ultimate vision, because his earthly vision, where he was, being in the king's palace, being in the king's presence, was the best achievement that everybody can be. You are next to the king. The king's life lies in your hand, so nobody has got power than you. But instead of him to be content and stay where he is, as soon as he heard that his people are in trouble, the walls have been broken, he had a desire to go and help God's people. This shows that his vision was not for earthly pleasures or worldly wealth, but always to seek God's eternal purpose. So it's a good example for us to follow. Today we'll continue by coming to the church. He said we have talked about the individual vision, we have talked about our Christian vision, then we have talked about our spiritual vision. Now we come to talk about the vision of the church, or the vision of Edmonton Church. But before I proceed, I left the homework the first about 2 weeks ago, that what are some of the potential vision of a church? What are some potential visions for a church? So I would like us to come out with, because when we come to the individual visions, I would say somebody would say, I want to have a degree, I want to build a house, I want to build a car, I want to do that, I want to do that. What are also some of the potential visions for a church? So let's discuss this before we continue.
Bryce, yeah. The potential vision of a church is to endeavor that everyone comes to know God, not just seat warmers, but actually know God, so that we can independently transfer that knowledge onto others who need to know God. Because Christ said that we will do beyond what He has done, and that is reaching the souls that He did not reach. So our duty, like the scripture says, is here to do God's will. So the vision of the church is to equip the brethren into walking in the way of the Lord, so that they can truly obey God and do what God desires.
Okay, thank you. So you are saying some of the vision of a church can be a church seeking to empower the members to come and know God. Okay, that is good. I mean, we need more. That can be one. A church can say, okay, for our vision or our goal, what the church wants to achieve is to empower or to help others to come and know God, or to help all the members to come and know God and to serve Him better. It's good. Okay, we need more. More. What are some of the visions that a church can have? Because churches can have many visions. Brethren, I'm waiting for you. Come. More, so that we can continue. Bration has said some more. Okay, a church. Elder, is it the chance?
Yeah, it's the Shirley.
Okay.
To go into the world and proclaim the good news.
Okay, so a church also can say, okay, our mission or our vision, our vision is to go into the world to proclaim the good news, which is also, because now we are going to discuss about the vision of Edmonton Church. But before we go to that, let's see in a broader sense, each church, each congregation can have different visions. Every church is what he want to achieve. So as Brescian has given his version, and Tisel also has also given. We need more. The church can have more visions. Brethren, come up. Okay, I will say one. Okay, some church also can say, okay, we want to build a school. We want to establish a school to help members, like something like a daycare, or even at the secondary level to help members and even the community. That can also be a vision of a church. I have brought one. Okay, brethren, more. We need more.
Hello, Brother Paul.
Yes.
So I think my video is not on. I'll come back later. I think I need to do something.
Okay, I'll give more. A church also can say, okay, a church can have they can set a vision like having a target members of converts. Let's say, for instance, a church can say, okay, we would like to maybe by the next 2 years having maybe about 100 converts. Having 100 converts within a year or within the next 2 years is also a vision or a target that a church can look up to achieving it. A church also can say, okay, we want to acquire a place of worship within the next 10 years, within the next 2 years, within the next 3 years. As even Edmonton also has said, trying to have a place of worship. I've given 2 more. So more, brethren. The Bible class should be an interaction. Brethren, more. Okay, so a church also can also say we want to have elders and deacons or an evangelist within the next 2 years, within the next 3 years, or within the next 5 years, within the next 10 years. A church also can say we want to reach out to the whole community of where the location where the church is. Okay, let's say for instance where our church is, Edmonton Church can come out and say, okay, we want to reach out to the whole community around the church building. It's all a vision that churches can set up. Meanwhile, we shouldn't forget that when we talk in terms of the mission of the church, that one was established by the Lord. The mission of the church, mission is different from vision. A mission is the purpose of the purpose of why that organization or that society or whatever is existing. That's the mission. Why was it established? Why are you here? That's the mission. But the vision is what you want to achieve. So in terms of the mission, the church, the mission of the church was established by the Lord himself. Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 to 20. Go ye therefore and make disciples of all nations, teaching them, baptizing them in the name of the Lord, the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded. That is the mission of the church. But the vision is what the church wanted to achieve for you to fulfill that vision, that mission, fulfill the mission of the church. So we shouldn't, we shouldn't get confused between mission and vision. The mission of the church, no preacher or no leader can establish the mission, because Christ himself established the reason why the church was established, or gave the reason why the church was established on this earth. Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 to 20. But our vision, what the church wants to do, in the nearest future or during his existence. That's the vision. Increase. A church can say, okay, we want to increase our membership from this figure to next figure within this time. We want to build a school to help members in the community. We want to have a targeted convert. A year, maybe 1 year or 2 years, we want to baptize about 1,000 people. We want to acquire a place of worship. We want to have elders and evangelists. We want to build membership who are committed to God. So all these things are a vision of the church. He said, what is the vision of Edmonton Church? Now, he said vision is the ability. We shouldn't forget that during our lesson, we said vision is the ability to plan for the future with imagination or wisdom. Vision is the ability to plan for the future with imagination or wisdom. Vision can also be where an organization or individual wants to be or want to achieve. Again, vision should be developed through prayer, Bible study, and paying attention to situations and circumstances. So if we want to talk about the vision of the church, all these things must be taken into consideration. He said leaders are to be generators as well as the driven instruments for vision and its fulfillment. Leaders are to be the generators as well as the driven instruments for the fulfillment of vision. So God requires leaders to be visionary. So talking in terms of the vision for Edmonton, it lies in the hands of the leaders, because God requires leaders to be visionary, and they are to the one who are to be the initiators and as well as the driven instrument for that vision to be fulfilled. As we are doing application for Nehemiah, we saw Nehemiah is a perfect example. We will not go anywhere. We stay with the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah was the perfect example. He initiated the vision, and he also was the one who became the instrument, the driven instrument for that vision to be fulfilled. When we read Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 5, let's go to Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 5. He said, and I said unto the king, if it please thee, if it please the king, and if thy servant has found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldest send me unto Judah and unto the city of my father's sepulchre, that I may build it. So here, that was his vision. He said he wants to go to Judah, the city of his fathers, and to build it. So he generated, as a leader, he foresaw the need to go and build Israel. Nehemiah saw the need of Israel protection as his vision. Because during our studies, we found out that King Nebuchadnezzar has destroyed Jerusalem completely, burning the walls and the gates and everything. So when a city is burned like this, or the city finds itself like that, the city is now lie waste. It's without protection. And as Brother James said, we had United Nations of opposition coming from the north, from the south, from the east, and from the west. Now this city is without a wall, without a gate. So where is the security of Israel now? They can come in. The reason why those people were opposing the burden of the wall, this Tobiah and Sanballat was opposing, very anxiously opposing the burden of the wall, because they know that if the wall is built, they cannot come in. They cannot come and attack the Israel. They cannot come to do whatever they want. But if the city lies as it is, they can come in anytime they want, because there's no protection. So Nehemiah saw that if my people is without protection, then where is their future? So therefore, he saw the need of Israel protection as his vision. So also the leaders of Edmonton or the leaders of the church have to see the need, because he said vision should be developed. Vision should be developed through circumstances, or vision can be developed through situations and circumstances. And that's exactly what Nehemiah did. Nehemiah developed the vision of rebuilding the wall because of the situation of Israel, the circumstances and the situation of Israel. The city lie waste, no protection. Tobiah and Sanballat can come in anytime they want. So therefore, Nehemiah, he said, if it will please you, the king, please send me back onto my father, so that I may build it. So the leaders are to be the initiators of the church vision as well as its fulfillment. Nehemiah saw the need of Israel's protection as his vision. Again, so having said that, we still come to what are the vision of Edmonton. The leaders of Edmonton are also visionary leaders. So therefore, they also have a vision for the church. Maybe somebody will say, okay, Edmonton, our vision is to acquire our burden, as we know is on board. They started this thing about a long time ago, and we are still on it, trying to achieve it. And acquiring a place of worship, as I said, can be a vision of a church. We're talking in terms of visions of churches. Acquiring a place of worship can be, but our visionary leaders, Edmonton visionary leaders, that is not their vision, though it's one of their objectives that the church wants to achieve. But the actual vision for Edmonton Church is that the leaders want to build a church whereby everybody or each individual will be actively involved in the Lord's work. Because studying the book of Nehemiah, we saw that in rebuilding of the wall, everybody was actively involved. So the vision of Edmonton Church is the leaders want it to build Edmonton Church, or to build a church whereby everyone will be actively involved in the Lord's work. Nehemiah chapter 4. Let's see Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 6. Nehemiah 4, verse 6. Our visionary leaders want to build a church whereby individuals will be actively involved in the Lord's work. Nehemiah 4, verse 6. He said, So built we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto half thereof, for the people had a mind to work. The people have a mind to work, and to work for the Lord. Again, when we go to verse 15, he said, and it came to pass, when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and God had brought their counsel to now, that we return all of us to the wall, everyone unto his work. Brethren, this is a very good, like maybe, as I said, maybe Edmonton we have on board trying to achieve our own burden. So maybe many of us will think that is the vision of the church. But according to our visionary leaders, that is not the vision of the church. That is one of the objectives of the church. We have objectives, something that the church wants to achieve. But our vision, the ultimate vision that the church want to reach, or the entire church, the leaders want to build members, the church, whereby every member will actively involved in the Lord's work. It's a building a church where each member will be empowered to serve God, as Brother Lesian said it. And I think that should be the best, or one of the best vision that the church will have. Now, our Christian vision is to seek to fulfill God's purpose for us on earth. So if our vision, our spiritual vision, our Christian vision is to fulfill God's purpose for us on earth, then building a church whereby each member will be empowered to serve is the ultimate vision. Because if we have if we have that zeal, that enthusiasm to serve God, then any other thing will come. Any other thing will follow, because our life and everything will always dedicated to God. We will have a total dedication, total commitment to God. So this is I 100% agree with the leaders coming out with this vision. So Edmonton Church, our vision there is to build a church whereby everybody, each and every Christian, or each and every brother or a sister, will actively involve in the Lord's work, empowered to serve God and to serve God better. Because after all, that was our whole duty that we are on earth, is to serve God and keep His commandment. Edmonton is looking forward to build a church whereby members will understand why they become Christians. That is the purpose of that is the vision of Edmonton. We want to build a church. The visionary, the vision of the leaders is that they want to build a church in Edmonton where each member, each Christian, will understand why he or she become a Christian. Because sometimes the way we conduct ourselves, sometimes the way we involve in the Lord's work, it seems like, it's going to say, maybe we were forced to be baptized. We were forced. We didn't understand where we intended doing when we confessed that I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and we were dipped into that water. So the leaders will have that vision that will help the church, each and every one, the members, will understand why we become Christians, so that everybody will be actively involved. Because learning the Nehemiah, how the wall was built, was fantastic. We will come to it. We will come to that. The process in which the wall was built was fantastic. So that's where, since we are studying Nehemiah, I think that's the good vision that a church have to have. Well, trying to build a school, trying to have a preacher, trying to have a meeting place, they are all good visions or objectives or aspirations. But building a church whereby each and every member will be actively involved in the Lord's work or empowered to serve God, I think that the ultimate is the best. Because even our Christian vision is where it lies, that we should fear God and keep His commandment. That is the whole duty of man. He said there was a total commitment in the rebuilding of the Jerusalem wall. Let's pick some scriptures in Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 1 to 3, and see. There was a total commitment in the rebuilding of Jerusalem wall. There was a total commitment in the rebuilding. Let's pick it up. Nehemiah chapter 3.
Can I read it?
Yeah. Read it.
It says here, Elisha, the high priest, and his fellow priests went to work and rebuild the sheep gate.
Mm-hmm.
They dedicated it and set its doors in place, building as far as the Tower of the 100, which they dedicated, and as far as the Tower of Hananel. The men of Jericho built the adjoining section, and Zukar, son of Imri, built next to them. Verse 3. The fish gate was rebuilt by the sons of Hazanah, and they laid its beams and put its doors and bolts and bars in place.
Okay. Because of time, is it? So here, look at, let's see. Even the priests were involved. The priest built, he said, the next built onto him, the Jericho, was built by Zokal and the son of Amos. If we say the whole of chapter 3, it shows how everybody was involved in building of the Jerusalem. When we go to chapter 8, and jump to chapter 8, verse 1 to 3, also read some few verses.
Chapter 8, verse 1 and 2.
3.
Or 1 to 3.
Well,
on the 24th day of the same month, the Israelites gathered together, fasting and wearing sackcloth and putting dust on their heads. Those of Israelite descendants had separated themselves. I'm correct.
No.
Hmm?
Chapter 8, 1 to 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
I read verse chapter 9. Okay.
Chapter 8.
All the people came together as one in the square before the water gate. They told Ezra,
all the people, when he came
Okay.
in terms of going to listen to the word of God, in terms of attending to the God's commandment, he said all the people gathered. Then continue.
they told Ezra, the teacher of the law, to bring out the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord had commanded for Israel. Verse 2. So on the first day of the 7th month, Ezra the priest brought the law before the assembly, which was made up of men and women and all who were able to stand. Verse 3. He read it aloud from the daybreak till noon, as he faced the square before the water gate in the presence of the men, women, and others who could understand. And all the people listened attentively to the book of the law.
That's it. So we found out that during the time of Nehemiah, everybody was involved in rebuilding and also in attending to the word of God. The children of Israel gave their total commitment in the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem and also in their commitment to the word of God. So this is why the church, the leaders of Edmonton is focusing of building a church whereby each and individual will be empowered. I'm using the word empowered to serve, because Nehemiah was able to empower the whole of Israel for them to be actively involved in the rebuilding of the wall. We shouldn't forget that our purpose on earth is to fear God and keep His commandment. That's the whole duty of man. So, if a church want to, acquire a building, if a church want to build a school, if a church want to have a preacher, if a church want to evangelize or be known in the community, whatever, they are all perfect visions, but there's no vision which will exceed it. And Basin said it, that will be empowered, because each Christian must understand the reason why he or she become a Christian. That will empower you to do, like when we're saying 2 weeks ago, we're saying about the dedication and delegation. If you dedicate yourself, then you don't need anybody to dedicate you. Because if you dedicate yourself, you are always there. You have given yourself. So even you never sit down for somebody to tell you to do it before you take a step. That is the ultimate. That should be the ultimate vision of a Christian. Why are you there? Why are you baptized? Why are you a Christian? Why did God call you to be part of His kingdom? We should go deeply, because if a members understand this, then we have the church will not have any problem. Most of the times, you see the work of the church lying in the hands of the few. Everywhere you go, not any old event, the Church of Christ worldwide, it seems we have some few members which the work of the Lord belongs to them. But here, he said a great church is built through great commitment. Before any church becomes great, unless commitment, that church is built through great commitment. Without great commitment, there will not be a great church. So the leaders, the visionary leaders of Edmonton has come out house. When they sit down and look into the church, they found out that we need to build a church, or they need to empower the church to have members who are actually committed, who are going to be actively involved in the Lord's work, who are actively going to dedicate themselves, because great church is built through great commitment. And that thing also will help each and individual to live, to do his or her best to live as a Christian. Because if you are fully empowered to serve, then you are going to serve in any way. You are going to present yourselves as a living sacrifice, because you are always there. Because if the work of the church lies in the hands of the few, the church will never prosper. It never go forward, because the load is too much. Let's say, for instance, I'm supposed to raise, or there's 50 kilos of bags of rice in the room, and we have to lift it. I pour alone. I can't lift it, or before I lift it, it will take me a time to lift it. But if 2 or 3, 4, 5 brothers come, it's gone. Like mathematics, when we were doing in school in mathematics, they will say, okay, problem solving. If 5 people can clear a field of maybe 10 acres in 2 days, how long would it take 2 people to clear it? Definitely the answer will be less people. Definitely, if it takes 5 to clear it, if you take 5 people to clear it in 3 days, then if you bring about 2 people, they will clear it in 2 days. If you bring more people, it will take less days to clear the land. So it's like that. So if we don't build a church, if the church rely on few people, always there's a problem. Always the work of the Lord is lacking. So Edmonton said they want to build a church whereby each and everyone will be actively involved in the Lord's work, as Nehemiah did, because we are doing the application of Nehemiah. So here, I'll pause here, and next week we are going to, but I will leave it as a homework. If so, how can the church achieve its vision? If the leaders want us to, or the leaders want to build a church whereby each and individual will be actively involved in the Lord's work, they want to build a church whereby each and individual will be empowered to serve God, as Nehemiah did. How can this vision be achieved? Next week we are going to look at it at that. But before then, I will leave it as an example, as a homework. Each and everyone have to go and think about it. How can the church achieve its vision, or how can the church achieve this vision? It's up to all of us to come and answer for it next week. I'll pause here and see if anybody has got a question or contribution before we'll have once and pray.
Brycian.
Mm-hmm.
I know that children are also listening to this program. When we talk about the church, I don't think most of them understand that the church is not the building. So I want to emphasize here that to the children, and few adults who probably don't understand, that the church that we are talking about is the members, not the building. So I just want to emphasize that the church is the members and not the building. So the vision of Edmonton is to empower the members. The members are the church and not necessarily the structure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, adding to the, as I said, he said to empower every member to serve. So it means individuals. Each and every Christian is a member of the church. So the leaders or the Edmonton, the vision for the church at Edmonton is to empower each and everyone, as you said. So it's me, it's you, it's everybody, even the children, the youth, everybody is involved, that we will be ready. That's why I said is to let every Christian know the reason why, or understand why he became a Christian. He said Edmonton is looking forward to build a church whereby members will understand why they become a Christian. So this goes to individuals. Thank you very much. Any more contribution, question?
Hello, Brother Paul.
Yes.
Who is coming? Is it me, Brother I think somebody else is there. It's Brother Maxwell. Can I come in?
No. Yeah, Brother, so you go.
Oh, okay. No, go, Brother Charles. Yes,
No. You go after you. I'll come after you.
All right. Thank you very much for your for the discussion. I think you've clearly spelled out the vision of the church that has been given. I think two things that you said, which is again we went back to the issue of commitment and delegation. When you said that if you're committed, that you don't need to be delegated. To some extent, I do agree with that, but also if that comes in, then that will deviate the vision of the leaders, because part of getting people to be committed is also the leaders seeing individuals' gifts and then delegating them. Then you get everyone to be involved, because otherwise it's always going to be the same people. So yes, commitment is key, but part of the leadership role is also to be able to delegate individuals and then making sure that everybody in the church is also involved.
What if you recognize your own gift?
Can I come in there, please? I want to believe that
Bracian, that was before you.
Okay, let me just add that, just what my brother said. I want to believe that if we are dedicated, like you said, you don't have to be delegated. If you are dedicated, then you become a vessel for the leadership to empower people with. When you are dedicated, it's not because some people will not have recognized their potentials. When you begin to delegate, then you are now establishing what potentials they have. But when you make yourself available, then the work can be done.
Thank you, Bracian. Elder.
Bravo, thank you for your lesson today. I think in your statement you were giving some example. I know it was just an example concerning the vision of the church that probably we say we may baptize 100 people or 10 persons in a year. What I want to find out in line with what Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 6. Paul said, I planted, Apollos watered, and God gave the increase. So based on that, can we put a number? Can we have a vision that we put a number on how many people that we are going to baptize, knowing that it is God who gives the increase? That is one. Then my second question was, I think you also cited an example of a church can have a vision of building a school. Can building a school be a vision for the church? Because I see vision of the church something that is directly involving souls. But building a school, I know the motive, but can building a school be a vision for a church?
Okay. In terms of the first question, like I said, a congregation which has been established for long, a congregation which has been established for long, or a congregation in terms of the baptism of the soul. 1 Corinthians, as you said, Paul said, he planted, and God will give the increase. But some congregation like this, if the congregation is newly established, they can make a vision. Okay, this year, or let's make our vision that this year, by the end of the year, we can have maybe 2 or 3 or 10 baptism. They set it as a goal. I've known a congregation where they will say, no, maybe they cannot achieve, because as you said, it's God who gives the increase. Whether people are going to be converted or not, it lies in the hands of God. But they set it so that they will pursue to achieve it. I've seen a congregation doing that before when it is newly established, so that to encourage the members to try to win souls. All these things were being said to encourage members to win souls. So that is some congregation, if it has been established new, can do that. That okay, let's take this year. That this year, let's do our best to baptize or have about maybe 10 or 20 or 50 converts. Then again, like the second one that you said is can you repeat the second one again? Like the school. Okay, if a church has been established for long, maybe the church has been there for so long, and they think or they will see that things are going well. They will say, okay, maybe by the end of the year or by next year, let's try to establish a school, especially starting with the daycare, so that it will help the parents of the members who are working. Then they will extend it to. That's why even in Ghana, some of the churches have got schools. But as we said, all those things, some churches, according to their existence and their ability, can set those things to be their vision for a period, for a year or for 2 years or something like that. So some churches used to do it according to the establishment and the ability of the church, which I've seen 1 or 2 also as an example. So it can be, but as we said, that shouldn't be, all those things are good. But the one that like Basin said, and Edmonton has come out, I think that should be the best. That is the best vision. Because after all, if you create all those things and members are not faithful, members are not participating, what have the church achieved? Like building members, if we build members who fully understand, who are fully committed, who fully get involved, then all other things come. Because members, even you don't tell them,
Exactly.
each and everyone knows that's why I use the word, understand the reason why he or she become a Christian. So some churches will have those according to their existence or according to their ability. But as I said, the one that Edmonton Church has come out is the best. Is the best.
Bryce, yes?
Are you satisfied with that?
Yeah,
if you have some, you can add. I mean,
should I add something?
The school one is a bit. The school one is a bit debatable. The school one is a bit debatable. That is because sometimes I know in Ghana, most of the churches have gotten involved in building of schools, running transport businesses and other stuff that they see it as part of the objective of the church. And sometimes even to the extent of building hospitals. All these are. I'm not saying they are wrong. I'm not saying, but then it tend to maybe deviate from the core of our calling. The core of our calling be that we are here to save souls. We are here to be able to for it to go to heaven. So sometimes when these other things, the schools, the hospitals, and the transport comes in, then probably these things also come with problems.
Yeah.
These all come with problems, and those problems may take us away from our core of our calling. That is why I'm sometimes a little bit skeptical.
I agree. Elder, I agree, because even some in terms use them as a business. Through that, they enter into business. Like, let's say, for instance, Takoradi, but the Shem has got a school of some kind of vocational school whereby they train women in sewing, and they don't take money. It's free. They don't pay for coming to that vocational school, which is very good. But if a church, most of the churches have, attend to that level and even use it as a business. That's I agree with you. That will deviate the church from its core, because church is not for business. Church is to save souls. So some use those things as their vision. As I agree with you, that shouldn't be like the one that Siama is doing. He doesn't take money, just to empower the young girls to have a vocational, to have career, which is very good. It doesn't take money; it's free. It's funded by the church, and it's free for the young guys, instead of them to be going wayward, have a career to live by in the future. But those churches who use those things as a business, and even in terms lay much emphasis on those areas rather than saving soul, I think they tend to deviate from the mission of the church. So thank you. You are right.
Hello, Brother Paul.
Yeah.
Can I come in? I think the elder was perfectly right, and I think that's where we need to be very careful. For instance, citing what Brother Siama is doing as an example, that cannot be classified as a vision of the church, right? So, for instance, if you link it to getting everyone participate, maybe the motive behind doing that is that I'm doing this, so at the end of the day, instead of these people going wayward, they will also become active members of the church that is serving God in serving God. But the main mission will be there, but then, as you said, probably might be one of the objectives of getting them to become active members in serving the Lord, but not establishing that venture as the vision of the church. Because obviously we got to be careful that can it be supported from the scriptures? Yes, God has given us wisdom, but it's not everything, because normally we start and we say it's free, but behind the scenes, there might be a lot of things going on. That's why we have to be careful when it comes to those things, putting them as vision of the church.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. That's why I'm saying some churches come out as their vision. Some churches come out of those things as their vision. So I agree with all of you. Like, that's what I'm saying, that the one that Edmonton, even when I asked the question, Brayson came out perfectly, that the vision or a vision of a church is to empower Christians to serve each and everyone to serve God. So that is the ultimate. But some of all those that I mentioned, some churches use that as their vision, of which so I agree with you that all those things we should be careful. But it's happening. So I just give it as an example because they are doing it. But we, as an Edmonton, have to be careful. And we thank God that our visionary leaders has come with the one. Even we have an objective, like account our building. But that is not the vision of the church, as the leaders has come out. So we focusing on all those things and sometimes is help. But if we don't take time, or that things shouldn't be actually the vision of the church, because even the mission of the church is to save souls. That's Matthew chapter 20. It said, go therefore and make disciples. After baptism, he said, teaching them to observe. That's why the church is here. So all other things must be a channel to achieving this vision that Christ brought. So I agree with you, I agree with others, but some churches are doing it, of which they have taken it as their vision, as well. And as we said, there's a caution in those areas. There's a caution in those areas, but something is doing. I think our time. If anybody has got anything more, we
Antonio.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, the church vision is to save souls and to bring people to Christ and so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having a school or not having a school, or having a situation where you're teaching people vocational skills and so on, is not necessarily viable for you to say that you're going to deviate from bringing them to Christ. If, quote unquote, we have a school, you can also save children's lives. You can save adolescents' life by them coming into this actual activity in school and whatever it is. You don't have to have a school. You can have a holiday play scheme or whatever. You can have situations where older women will teach younger women, older men will teach younger men. They'll see by example, they'll see by reading the scriptures and discussing, they will see by their activities because they're learning something new. They will create more passion for what they're doing and for Christ because they've actually learned about Christ through that actual activity and teaching that they're receiving, whether in a school setting, whether in a discussion setting, whether in a fun activity setting. It doesn't have to be a rigid structure, and you don't have to think about the things that will make it not work. As Brother Paul said, everything you do have to gauge you towards fulfilling the mission and the vision of the church, winning more souls to Christ. You don't have to have a square way of looking at it. You can change it to whichever way will suit the people you're targeting and the way you work. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Tonya. Yeah, so but the elder have said it, and Maswe too have said it. Some churches are doing it, but that's why there's a caution, or even using that as a vision. There's a caution, but some of the churches are doing it. So there's a caution on it. I just brought it up as an example, but some of the churches are doing it. But in other ways, as you said, in the other way, there's so many ways that members can be empowered or members can be helped. So even most of it, they go into it and later become a business for the church. Which is the church is not for a business. The church is not for a business. The church is there to save souls. So as what you said, the church have got so many ways to help them. We need to help the members in any ways for them also to have the ability to serve. When it comes to how can the church achieve a vision, I think all these things will come out. How? That's why I've left it to all of you to go and think about it. How now we have seen the vision The leaders want everybody to be empowered to be saved. How can we achieve this? In terms of Nehemiah, how did Nehemiah achieve his vision? If we study the book of Nehemiah well and see how he achieved his vision, we can also apply them so that, well, the church in Edmonton also can achieve our vision, whereby we want to empower everybody to serve God and to serve him the way he deserves it. I think our time is up. If anything, we'll come back next week. I'll ask Bayesian to give us a song and ask the Barney to give us a conclusion prayer.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. I have tried hard since we